All right, hello. I'm a little bit early, but that's okay. Welcome to a massive audience of zero. My name's Frank. This is Premarket Wake Up. I still want to grow this one day, but it's serving its purpose for me. It's helping me become more professional in a lot of ways. I wanted to start this for the main reason to do that, to become a better trader. And that's it, just a better trader. I don't want to turn this into a money-making exercise. I want to kind of turn this into a club of serious traders. At some point, I will probably have to stop taking memberships, but whether that happens 6 months from now or 6 years from now, I don't know. Or I just don't care at all if it never grows at all. Since I've been doing this, I've been doing wonderful with trading. Anyway, I'll never sell any signals or memberships or anything like that. I would prefer to have a better vetting process. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But today I'm going to look at the news for a little bit. I'm going to talk about how my week has gone, and then I'll look at the news, then take a look at overnight prices and what I think about the macro environment right now. Let's do this. So my trading right now has been great. I seem to be able to get a feeling for which way the markets are going, at least in the shorter term, weekly or monthly basis. But that's all you need, right? All my losses of 2 weeks ago, or earlier this month rather, have been recovered and then some. And it does seem like the trajectory is just up. You can't expect to have no losses. That's crazy. Even my win rate, while it seems high, I still have losses. And those losses are often large. I don't want to say because of mistakes, but they are kind of mistakes. I forget about regime change or volatility and how quickly it can just, boom, there's $1,000 gone. It's gotten to the point where now my problem seems to be liquidity. How do I get enough money to trade more contracts? It's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem. And I do not want to get too cocky. For example, let's say I made 20 grand this year in trading. It only takes a month to lose all that. So I must bear in mind through all of this that can all be taken away so quickly. But moving on. Oh, and I did kind of figure out the order issues with Interactive Brokers and TradingView. It sucks. It sucks that I have to do this, but I have to have 4 different fail-safes to make sure that an order goes through. That's ridiculous. I don't know. I'm really thinking about switching from Interactive Brokers, but I'm so tied in with them now in many different ways. And just the amount of work that would take. And I keep telling myself, oh, well, I'll do it when I set up some trading strategies that are pretty automatic. But that's just never how it works. Everything always requires a ton of work, and I'm already a little bit behind on that work. But at some point I'll have to bite the bullet and just switch. Because what happens when I become very good at scalping and order entry speed is paramount. Trader Workstation is terrible. They really, or I just can't figure out, I can't get comfortable with using it. Maybe I should try the hotkeys with that again. The TradingView is terrible for scalpers, that's for sure. I don't know. Maybe I should realize that I'll never be fully comfortable on any platform. Maybe I can one day do the thing that they do in Cyberpunk, where they just stick a thing in the back of their head and they become part of the market. Or not the market, but part of the internet. Wouldn't that be something? Alright, let's check out the news. I like to laugh. Inflation, this is kind of what I was telling myself yesterday. A complex inflation reading doesn't stop Trump's team from bragging about lower prices. President Trump's team quickly went all out to highlight Thursday's better than expected inflation print, while economists were just as quick to warn not to read too much into the numbers. All right, we all know Yahoo is very, very left. But I have to agree on some of this. You never can trust the numbers. But Yahoo is clearly biased. Sometimes they don't even know what their biases are. It's kind of like they got a bunch of people pulling the strings behind the scenes and the strings are getting all tangled. One day they're pumping the market saying AI is wonderful. Ignore the fact that they don't make money. Just, forget about that. Remember Uber? Remember? And then the next second they're saying Trump terrible. Even though, I don't know, they just can't figure it out. Because people can't right now can't separate politics from the market. I get called a Trump lover or a Trump hater when I post, depending on what side I'm on, bullish or bearish. I think it's funny. When you start winning in the market, you're taking your money from those fools who are perma bulls or perma bears. At least until they learn or lose all their money and go back to whatever it is they were doing. But that's just the way it is. The market isn't for everyone. If you don't love it, give up now. This isn't one of those things, in the back of your head, if you're thinking, well, I just want to make a little extra money. I don't really like it, but I can do it. If this guy over here, this crypto bro over here can make millions, well, surely I can do it. I don't think I ever thought that. The whole time I've been entranced by this thing called markets and the ability to work through problems and earn money from it. To put work in and get money out. To notice things that no one else has noticed. To notice patterns. And it's so strange because normally I very much like mechanical stuff. I enjoy building things and fixing things. I guess in some ways I'm fixing a problem in the markets when I find something. But enough of that. Let's go on with this article. One White House social media account posted about inflation. One White House social media account posted about inflation and prices 14 times in the first 2 hours after the news was released at 8:30. That the consumer price index rose 2.7 over the previous year in November. The reading was well below expectations of 3.1 increase. That's tiny. You can fudge the numbers easily to mess with that. The plain fact is, just as with all prior administrations, this administration loves to print money. They seem to think that they can offset that printing money with tariffs, but it doesn't change the fact that when you print money, you put inflation just goes up. It just goes up. Americans can expect this trend of lower prices and bigger paychecks to continue into the new year. All right, maybe, but it's not how it was 2019, pre-2020. Not even close. Even with making money in the markets, I still don't know how I would afford an apartment. You know, the median price of an apartment in X city. I couldn't do it. I'd have to get a night job or something. I want to change that one day, but I mean, I wouldn't rent a place in a city anyway right now. Economists, meanwhile, I hate when they make just broad statements. Economists say, experts say. Who? Name them. Who says? We're far more restrained, repeatedly cautioning that the data, which is disrupted and delayed by the government shutdown, and offered no month-on-month reading from September, maybe. All right, all these people are using GPT to write these articles. They're terrible. Okay, so now they do name someone. I'm not going to try to say that name. What happened to like the Bob Parkers of the world? Head of U.S. economic research at Fitch Ratings called the report positive news overall, but quickly added that the data was less detailed than normal because of the shutdown. We need to wait until next month for a clear... Okay. You can just say, I don't know. As RSM's Joe Bruselas added in his own note, one should proceed with caution around making policy and investment judgments around the November inflation data. Man, I would, in any of these jobs, I would either get fired immediately or I'd be made boss. Just because I'd be blunt. I'd be so blunt, people wouldn't know what to say. All these, they filter all these stuff through PR or finance scramblers. We were like, well, I'm going to, definitely don't take one side too heavy or the other side too heavy, or make sure that you say a lot with saying nothing, meaning you say a lot of words, but you could have said those words in one sentence, but instead you took 10 sentences, just wasting time. By Thursday morning, many Trump officials were working to highlight how real wages, the measure of inflation against wage increases, have shown steady improvement throughout 2025. Yeah, they have a lot to catch up on. And if you just keep printing money, I don't know. Maybe after the midterms, he'll actually start doing some of the stuff he said he wanted to do. But I doubt it. I really doubt it. Data from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis show that median weekly real earnings dropped during the inflation spike early in Biden's term and have been steadily rising ever since 2022. Less in focus from Trump and his team this week are new Labor Department numbers released Tuesday that found the nation's unemployment rate has crept up to 4.6%, the highest level in 4 years. So it's no coincidence that for some reason this administration wants rates to be cut still. I'm guessing the tone might change after midterms. But they're so afraid that, that there's going to be a crash in the markets. And why don't they just try? So I understand that the common American is really stupid. But why not? Why hasn't anyone ever thought of this? Why not try to explain these things as simple as possible to them? The leader of our nation could make it sound simple and say, hey, this is what we got to do. This is what's going to happen. Don't stress it. I don't know. Perhaps I don't know what I'm talking about. It probably wouldn't work. Let's read some of the 601 comments. Holy moly. Let's see how political this gets. These economists questioning the data. Are they the same economists that said we'd be suffering under rampant inflation by now due to tariffs? Yeah, I guess that's, yeah. And then the comments, the replies are going to be like, we are suffering. Go to the store. Same economist who said under Biden that inflation was transitory. I forgot all about that when they were saying that. This is transitory inflation. Yeah. People are suffering. Do you buy goods for your family? Does this person not know how much money they printed? I don't know. These are the type of people that the good traders take money from. All right, so this is interesting. Not sure where they found these biased economists that don't seem to have a clue what goes into the numbers. These numbers overinflated inflation. Why would he do that? So if you believe the reports that the Bureau of Labor Statistics is now biased, which they've always been biased, they've always been a back and forth pull of political will. So if you believe that narrative, why would Trump tell them to overinflate inflation? These numbers, the largest factor in the inflation report was housing, which is actually seeing price drops, falling rents. Yeah, I don't think so. The report doesn't account for energy as we see gas prices falling below $2 a gallon in most states. I don't think so either. This is a lagging indicator which will drive down the price of transportation. Maybe. I hope so. I wish nothing but good things for this country. Except for AI. I hope AI crashes into the ground. Alright, that's enough of that. See what else we got here. Why Goldman still believes in a Santa rally. Wasn't Goldman saying expect a 20% drop 2 months ago? Okay, so this is the one thing I did want to get into. The Bank of Japan hikes. So I saw something yesterday saying that the Bank of Japan hikes would cause a lot of money being pulled out of the markets in the US because they can get a good rate over there. But I don't see how that makes sense because their interest rate is still pathetic compared to the rest of the world. Maybe, I don't know. I got to look into that more. I got to do more research. Nvidia shares rise as U.S. begins review of H200 sales to China. Good, I hope it rises so I can short it some more. 25% fee. What happens when they realize that China doesn't want them? Yes, sell to China. So for so many years, NVIDIA is restricted politically like no other US company. Otherwise, US should financially compensate NVIDIA for legally restricting selling chips to China. You mean illegally? I don't think it's that big. They don't have like the data center fever like we do. NVIDIA's not up that much. I mean, I hope they raise more so I can add more shorts. Maybe I'll do that right where it is right now. There's a lot of high-level corruption going on in the AI world. You got that right. And government isn't only blindsided, but in favor of it. Money for few at the expense of national security, let alone circular deals. Cite a few examples of this high-level corruption. Hint, there isn't any. You made that up. I mean, come on. We all know how the pattern works. Market gets pumped up by a whole bunch of this, that, and the other. They did it with the Bitcoin stuff. Everybody gets on board. Then all the financial fraud comes out. And it takes a long time for that to come out. And everybody who was doing dirty get flushed out. I mean, Bitcoin's still here. But it did crash. But like I'm trying to point out, it takes a while. Of course there's not examples right now. In the financial world, you just don't, in a month get charged and thrown in prison. You have to be poor to get that kind of treatment. Looks like China doesn't want these chips as it strives to wean itself from the dependence on Western technology. Okay, so I've seen a lot of different views on this. One of them is that China is kind of taking a second seat to this whole AI thing. The only reason they were doing it is because we were doing it and they were trying to undermine us a bit. I don't think they want them as much. And I've seen stuff about GPUs sitting in warehouses. So if they are buying them, they're not using them. They're just hoarding them. I don't know what the reason would be for that. I don't know. Yes, please, China, buy all the chips you can, and I promise there is no super unable to find. What? Everyone needs to take an English class. I would take one. Let it happen. Really, what could happen, you foolish people? So they are trying to wean itself from Western technology. But they've been trying to do that for 20 years. And because they keep stealing technology, they're very good at reverse engineering, but they're not good at their own R&D. Their entire infrastructure is pivoted towards stealing from the West. A lot of the things they steal, they do better, but they don't expand upon. I think back to Japan after World War II. They were crippled, so they had to copy a lot of Western technologies and improve upon them. But they not only copied them, they looked at it as an example and then said, how can we improve upon this? China doesn't do that. Maybe they'll start moving towards that, but it's just not. So even though they've made a lot of capitalistic movements or changes. They still are psychologically at their core communist. Communism and innovation, it's like oil and water. You'll never mix those two. It's just a fact. All right, let's just check the other clown show news. Oh, great. Meta faces lawsuit after teenagers commit suicide from Instagram scams. So great. I think Meta should definitely face tons of lawsuits. I think they should. So it came out in the news a while ago that Meta was not getting rid of scams on their platform. Their tactic was to charge more for ad revenue from scammers. It's disgusting. They should face lawsuits. They should be. Well, I think Meta should have been broken up a long time ago. Meta and Google. I strongly believe that the only reason government should exist is to break up monopolies and security. Provide security so business can flourish and break up monopolies. That's it. Elon Musk's net worth doubles, his next closest rival amid. Geez, even Fox should take an English class. Lighter portions menu. Okay, so I got to give props to Fox. At least they aren't fully towing the White House line where ignore all the concerns. Americans surge towards financial resolutions for 2026 amid household budget concerns. Australia's leaders failed to act as... I don't care. Intensifying competition and personal agents. What to expect from AI in 2026? Nothing. Again, they are with going on with the job loss crap. They needed to get rid of people in the first place. Oh, I wanted to bring up, did you see that? So some of the tools that I used with AI, I gave it another try to build some projects with AI, and it failed miserably again, all the while giving me the illusion that it would work. And that's all it is. It's all illusion that it would work. One of the biggest critiques I saw of AI is you don't get consistent results from it. If I ask to get the same question 10 times, I get 10 different answers. So there's no way to ever really use it for anything. If you need an AI as a let's say a customer service, you want to set up AI for customer service and get rid of all your customer service reps and just automate it. And you want the AI to give a solid answer on, no, we don't do returns on large shipments. It's simple as that. You will get customers that get answers from the AI that say returns, they'll cite some other thing in the EULA that says they do offer returns. You just can't, it doesn't work. Maybe one day they'll figure it out, but they're running out of data to train on. And they're hitting limits also in the chips. And the more and more I look at it, the more I think AI is going to crash. But I do need to be careful that I don't get overly one-sided on that. Which is why I hedge. What? Main Street crushed by Biden inflation is finally coming back? I mean, Trump played a part in inflation as well. What a terrible idea. I'm all for teaching kids about the stock market, but I don't know. They're trying to replace Social Security. Let's just laugh at this and then I'm done. Oh, yeah, I don't want to watch that. Google Cloud lands deal with Palo Alto approaching 10 billion. Again, okay, let's read this. It will be nothing but it's commitments. Did they sign paperwork? I don't think so. You're going to see him walk back a lot of these commitments. Alphabet's cloud computing unit and cybersecurity company Palo Alto Networks on Friday announced an expanded partnership that one source told Reuters was by far Google Cloud's largest security services deal. Oh, so it's not AI. I just assumed it was. So Google's starting to pivot away from AI in little ways. I think if any company is going to survive the AI apocalypse, it would be Google, Apple, probably Meta, even though none of them should, but they will. The contract compromises a commitment by Palo Alto to pay a sum approaching $10 billion to Google Cloud over several years, according to the person with direct knowledge of the matter. Executives at both companies declined to comment on the specific figures of the contract. Yeah, because it's not real yet. Some of the spending will go into migrating Palo Alto's existing offerings to Google's platform, but a sizable portion will go into adding new services that involve artificial... Okay, so it is about AI. But notice how these deals are getting smaller. That's a hell of a reply. Alright, done here. Oh, I forgot to look at, so 10 a.m., look out. Existing home sales, Michigan consumer sentiment, and, what's UOM? University of Michigan. Okay. Inflation expectations. Look out for that. Now let's look at the charts. So you would expect, the way they're talking, futures would be up much higher. Maybe they'll rocket at the start, I don't know. Nvidia in the pre-market gapped up, then was flat to down. I'm going to buy that at the open. I mean, sell it, short it. Short maybe is the wrong word. I'm going to buy a short ETF, inverse ETF. I am long right now, but in the ES. Just 3 micros, long term. See where it takes us. You would expect the overnight to be higher, but it has bounced off of previous, no, this is a pivot line, a pivot point several times. We're stuck between the pivot point and the 50 daily moving average, which is this blue line right here. Let's take a look at the volume. Yeah, hard to say. It might be a bouncy day. NQ, very similar. This is the 5-minute overnight chart. The NQ is, what are they bouncing in between? Basically, call that a volume node. And yesterday's regular trading hours open. A bit stronger than the ES, but we'll see. The Russell slightly up, looks closer to the ES. The Dow, I don't know why. For some reason I have to recenter all these charts. And I know I don't have auto centering on, but for example, I'll close this and it'll go back to up where it was. But then the other charts save. I don't know. Trading View's a mess. But they have so pretty charts. Dow looking a little bit weak. Gold. So this is something I should have seen yesterday. A huge spike up in gold. I don't want to zoom out too far, but this was near kind of near all-time highs. But just how quickly it spiked up, I wish I would have seen this. I would have traded this, no problem. Because you can clearly see all the signs here. All the signs yesterday that were there. As soon as it shot up there, you could see that it lost momentum immediately. Like right here would have been a great place to short it. You saw the evidence in the RSI. Continual dropping of volume. I'm sure price action would have showed large amount of sellers. Anyway, in the overnight, flat, maintaining, bounced off of yesterday's low, which also is yesterday's opening range low. Oil is up in the overnight. Basically since 5 a.m. or around there. Natural gas. I didn't really incorporate this yet into my trading. I tried doing a couple Hail Marys on it, which was dumb, but might be a good idea to now buy a couple contracts. I think the problem here is the supply is insane right now with natural gas. Making so much of it, it's keeping prices lower. And finally, Bitcoin. Heck of a spike in the overnight Bitcoin futures. Let's see if it translated to actual Bitcoin. Yeah, despite the US dollar going up as well. Is it going up or is it going down? I think it's going down. No. Well, it was going up in the overnight. Now it's Looks like it's heading down a bit. Huh. I really got to figure out what's going on with the yen trade. All right, let's take a look at VIX. VIX futures flat to down, but which is strange because I would say it was trending up. It's heading back down now. We'll see. All right, that's all I got for today. Goodbye, good luck. I don't know if I'll be here Monday. I should really figure out a way to get some viewers. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. See ya.